Hey residents of Meepletown, in mid-June, Bicycle is coming out with their first ever, what they call white strategy games. A couple of games are coming out. And so today we're going to look at exchange. Now in this game, we're going to be hopefully buying stocks, bonds, and insurance low, selling them high, and at the end of the game, whoever has the most cash and the highest value of their assets is going to win the game. So I say, let's just get this thing to the table and let's check out Exchange by Bicycle. All right, Meepletown, we have Exchange set up and we are ready to play. Now, this game is played over the course of 5 rounds, and then there is a market close phase at the end of the game. Now, we're just going to play through 1 round today. That way you can get a good idea what the gameplay looks like. Of course, I'm going to have my review and my rating at the end of this. So, before we dive in and look at the gameplay, you are going to be dished out when you're playing Exchange a handful, depending on how many players, you just dish out all of these actually, of basically starting resource cards, how you're going to start. So Benjamin Winthrop is going to have 6 on banks, 6 shares, 2 shares of bonds, 4 shares of insurance, and $400. Ephraim Hart, on the other hand, has 3 shares in banks, 3 shares in bonds, 10 shares of insurance, and $200. And then there's Andrew Barclay as well. So those are our 3 players. The game plays fairly simply, actually, really simply. You're going to have 3 phases in the game. And so the first phase of the game, what we're going to do is we're going to be selecting one of the 3 securities. There's only 3 securities in this game. Again, banks, bonds, and insurance. Which one we want to buy or sell. So this player right here is going to, let's see here. So they have 10 in insurance. So this is interesting. So let's see. You want to, of course, buy low and you want to sell high. So one thing they could do, they could invest even more heavily in insurance, or they could go ahead and sell off a little bit of their insurance and diversify a little bit. Let's say they're going to do that. Let's say this player decides, I'm going to diversify a little bit. So let's go ahead and let's try to sell off some insurance. All right, so the player is going to place this right in front of them. And again, everyone doesn't get to see this until everyone's made their decisions. So the next player over here says, they see that they have, 10 and thinks maybe they're going to up the insurance because you can manipulate this market. So this player's thinking, I'm going to go insurance as well. And while one is thinking buy, I believe the other one's going to think sell. So that's going to be the second player. The third player over here has a lot in banks. And you know what? Let's see. They say, there's not a ton in bonds. There's not a ton in bonds here. Let me see if I can move up on the bonds track so that I can get some more shares of bonds so that I can, maybe own the bonds market. Who knows? So they're going to choose just that. Alrighty, let's set this down right here. Then what's going to happen is at the same time, we're all going to flip these over. So this player is going to reveal that they are buying or selling insurance. This player is going to reveal the same. And this one's going to reveal they are buying and selling bonds. Now that's the first phase of the game. The second phase is when players determine how much they're going to buy or sell and if they're going to buy or sell. So as I mentioned before, this player is going to go ahead and they're thinking sell. They're thinking I'm going to sell and I'm going to get as much money as I can. So with that being said, here are some of the buy cards just so you can take a look at them. And the sell cards are the exact same thing. So this player has $200 in cash. They don't want to sell all of their insurance right now. It's worth $50. So let's just say they're wanting to sell half. Okay, they're going to want to sell half of their insurance. So with that being said, they're going to grab the phase 2. They're going to slide it into here. All right, so they're going to put that on sell, and then they're going to put that down right there. So the next player over here is saying, like I mentioned before, they're going to buy, and they have, I believe, $300. Yeah, they have $300. Right now it's $50. Now we are going to manipulate this, so they may not get it for $50 a piece. But you know what? They want to go, let's see. They want to have more than them. They're going to go, not all in, but they're going to go ahead and grab 4. So let's put this into the phase 2. And they're going to be buying 4 shares of that insurance, where of course these other ones are selling. Now finally, this player right here decides they want to buy, as I mentioned before. And right now, it's again $50 to start the game off with, but they have $400. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to go fairly heavy, and they're going to choose right now to go ahead and buy 6. So we're going to replace that. And let's grab a phase 2. I got that one backwards. Oops-a-daisy. Let's put that on straight, or it's going to drive me insane. All right, cool. So then everyone's going to reveal. So this player reveals that they're selling. Now, what's interesting about this phase is no one knows how much. So everyone is just simply revealing what they're going to do. So sell, buy, and buy. And that's the end of the second phase. So now we move into the third phase. And the third phase is pretty interesting because this is where the market gets manipulated. So for example, there are three different securities, goodness gracious. Banks, insurance, and bonds, like we've talked about. So every player has 3 of these cards where they can either do +1, add to the bank, or -1. And then the same for insurance, the same for bonds. So because this player right here wants to sell, they want insurance to go up as high as possible. So with that being said, they're going to choose, let's do this. So they're going to choose this insurance card right here, and they're actually going to choose to put it on the +1 into the phase 3. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, which I'm going to go ahead and mention right now, is that in this game, you can at any point in time pay $50 to look at this Market Forces deck. Now, this Market Forces deck is going to be revealed after we're done with phase 3 here, and it's going to manipulate the market, and it's just wild and crazy. Just whatever it decides to do, it can go up 1 or 2. I think that's the most it can go up, 1 or 2 of any of these. So if any of these players are nervous, they could pay $50 right now and go ahead and look at the Market Forces. Now, to be real, they probably should have done it well before what they're at right now, because right now they're in phase 3. But again, so you can pay $50 anytime. I just want to make mention of that to look at the Market Forces deck, especially if you're unloading or buying a whole lot, which they are. So there's a good chance maybe they should have done that, but what the hey. All right, now this player is buying insurance, as we mentioned before. So with that being said, they want to manipulate the market down so that they can buy it cheaper. So they're going to go 1 down on insurance. And then finally, this player wants to buy bonds. And so she decides that she's going to, of course, make bonds less. Now, I'm doing some kind of simple strategy here, but as the game unfolds, I mean, obviously, you're going to have to really pay attention to what other players are doing. If you see someone like this that has $400 and you're thinking that they've picked buy and they're buying bonds, there's a great chance that strategically you might say, you know what, I don't mind paying a little bit more. I bet they're going to buy more than I'm going to buy, so I'm going to lower bonds rather than raise insurance. I hope that makes sense. And that's what, if I was for real playing the game and I was like one of these players, I would have done just that, thinking, I bet they're going to buy more than me, so let's hopefully hose them a little bit. All right, with that being said, at the end of phase 3, we're going to flip these over. And we're also going to look at the market forces. So based on these cards alone, insurance is going to stay flat because this is plus and this is minus. But the bonds are actually going to go down to $40. Now we're going to look at this market forces card. And so let's just read what it says. All right. Huge medical breakthroughs have been made in treatment of deadly diseases. Insurance +2. So wow, that is rejoicing for one player, and the other player not so much rejoicing because wow. Yeah, for the player that's buying them, that is not good. All right, so the player here that's selling is super happy. We mentioned before that they are selling. Pull this back up here. We're going to go ahead and I'll show you that this is where they're going to reveal what they are selling. All right, so let me put these down here. I'm just going to put them down like this. So this player is revealing that they are purchasing 5 shares, okay? So 5 shares at $70 is, wow. They are, selling, I'm sorry, not buying. 5 times 7, 35, so $350. All right. I was about to mess it up there. So $350 to this player, and this player is going to have by far the most money. And we'll talk about the benefit of having the most money here in just a second. Okay, now this player is purchasing, and they're purchasing insurance, but wow, now it's up to $700. So now they got to pay $280, which before wasn't going to be quite that high. So they're going to get their $20 back. But they're going to, and I need to fix this here for a sec. Give me just 1 second. made a mistake. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one needs to go down 5. Almost messed myself up there. So, of course, they sold 5 shares, so they go down 5 on the ledger board. This player buys 4 shares, so they go up on the insurance board 4 shares. This player is buying 6 times 4, $240. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, give them $60 back. And they are purchasing a whopping 6 shares. So they go up from 2 all the way to 8. And now they have a lot more than these other players in bonds, and that's what they were hoping for here. So let me point out a couple interesting pieces to this. One thing is that, depending on what your player count is, if your player count's 5 to 6, these are open. So these ones that are kind of shaded here, the 90 and 10, you're using them. In a 3-player to 4-player game, 3 or 4-player game, these are not. So you're just going to have $20 to $80. Here's what's interesting is if you ever get to $80 here and then you need to raise it again. So let's just say this player here that had a lot of insurance decides, oh, I'm going to sell them right now so I can get a ton of money. Your bubble might burst. You got to be careful, because if they do that, this player here may say, well, I'm going to raise insurance, even though they have a lot of it, because if you have to go up above 80, the market bubble bursts and they go down to $20. So it gets real. You got to be real careful whenever you're here at the top. You also have to be really careful at the bottom, because on the other hand, someone may be wanting to buy insurance, or maybe they want to sell it. If you go down past 20 in a 3 to 4 player game, the market bubble, they go all the way up to 90. So this is where the really interesting parts in the strategy of the game goes, and really the push your luck. Do you want to get up high, or do you want to go down low and try to buy low? But then a couple players push you up to paying $80 a share, and now you're hosed and you're in big trouble. Do you want to sell here up really high? Even at 70, it's a risk, because a couple players raise it and you're in trouble, right? I mean, you may be lowering it, but that's interesting part of the game there. And then something else I did not mention, which I was going to say, is the start of the next round, whoever has the most cash gets to be the lobbyist. And so it would be this player, which basically just gets them an extra vote in manipulating the market here. So they're going to be able to not only play their own, they're also going to be able to play the lobbyist card and be able to influence the market that way. So that's a look at the gameplay. Let's talk about the art and components here. Okay, so let's talk about the art and components here. Now, this game was a game that was actually kickstarted a couple years ago by someone who self-published this thing. And the art was absolutely fantastic. This game is supposed to be set in 1792, I think, just the beginning of the stock exchange. And it had this really cool retro vintage vibe to it. In Bicycle, I've decided to go a completely different route. Now, I do like the very distinct colors here and the color scheme on everything there. It makes everything clear and easy to understand on all the cards. I really enjoy that about the art in this game. However, oh my gosh, the art was so vintage, retro, cool, and this is just so falls flat for me. These pictures of these hands, this money, I just don't like the art on this game. The only thing I like about the art is the clarity. But besides that, I just don't like it. I wish they could have done something that looked a lot more similar like the Kickstarter version that was before, which was just fantastic in my eyes. But this is what they've chose to do. Besides that, I think the components are pretty good quality. These ledger boards, when you first get them, they're really tight, which I like, meaning that these things aren't loose. They're not going to slide around. These sliders here, they're going to be locked into place. The cards are good quality. These are really nice as well. So component-wise, it's all good. The only little complaint I have with the components are this round marker is just a piece of cardboard. That's fine. I mean, I'm not really complaining about that. Is these phase cards, they're this really high glossy thing, and you handle them a lot, and they get fingerprints all over them, like right off the rip. Like they just start looking greasy and stuff. Maybe I have greasy hands. My family has greasy hands, but all of them have fingerprints everywhere. Besides that, though, components are great. Don't like the art. Wish it was the same as, or something similar to what it had been before. With that being said, let's talk about the gameplay. All right, so let's talk about gameplay. Here's some things I like about the game. First of all, it's easy to teach. The mechanics of the game are simple. I mean, you're going to be picking bonds, stocks, or insurance. You're going to be deciding whether you're buying or selling it and how many those are. And then you're going to be manipulating the market. That's what you're going to do throughout the whole game. So it's simple to teach the mechanics, but I will say the idea of buying low, selling high, manipulating the market sometimes can take a minute for folks to wrap their minds around. I mean, I played with my 10-year-old yesterday, and he did really well, actually, but it did take him a minute to pick it up. Like, he understood the mechanics, but the idea of, what am I supposed to do? So I got to sell these. When do I buy? When do I sell? And to kind of wrap his mind around it, it took a minute. And that does happen, but the mechanics are simple, so I do like that. I also like the player interaction in this game. Now, I suppose you could kind of play solo and just be focused on your own board and, you know, raising insurance if you're selling it, or lowering the value of it if you want to buy it that route, and not paying attention to other players. But if you're going to play well, you've got to really pay attention to them. They're hopefully going to be interacting with you, lowering and raising the different ones based on what you are buying or selling. And, you know, I think that's really fun in the game. Now, I will say, if you are like really anti, like, take that, then I don't know if you'll like it. I don't know. To me, it didn't bother me at all, because you've got to go against the other players. You got to raise and lower, but it could really hose you if you were going to sell something really high and then another player knocks you, or a couple players knock you over the edge, your market bubble burst, and now you're not able to sell it very high. That can get frustrating. Some people might not love that. I'm fine with it, and actually that's definitely a positive for me. Now, another thing is, I don't think I've mentioned yet, but this is you have to have at least 3 players to play this game. And these stock exchange and different types of games, usually with 2 players, it does not work very well. So this is a 3 to 6 player game. So if you just play 2 players, you're not going to be able to play this one. Now, here are some of the negatives for me in this game. All right, I really enjoy the theme of exchange. However, like, buying and selling stocks is fun. However, I'm not sure how mass appealing that's going to be. Now, usually I don't care. Usually if I like the theme, it doesn't matter as long as I have a few friends that'll play it with me. However, this is a light game. And so for those who know me, my tastes are definitely more midweight Euros, maybe mid to heavy. I like some of those, all right? So I don't like a ton of lightweight games. They're just not my jam, unless I'm playing them in a party setting, or playing them in a setting where new people are coming over to the house and we can play it. And then I love it, right? I love introducing people to board games. But I'm wondering to myself how much I'm actually going to get this thing to the table, because I don't know how many people are going to like the buy low, sell high, stock type thing in a light strategy type of environment. I do have a few groups of friends that immediately come to my mind, a few friends that I think will love this game, and I want to play with them, and I think I'll have a really good time while we're playing the game. However, yeah, I just don't know if I'll hang on to this one, because I'm just not sure how often I'm going to be able, again, to get it to the table. So here are my final thoughts. Again, I like that it's easy to teach. I like the player interaction in this game, and you can even bluff and pretend you're doing different things, and just really, if you get into the theme of it, you can really have a good time with this game. So I really like that about the game. But again, my big negative for this is just trying to figure out where it fits in my collection. Being a light strategy game, and then being a game I'm not sure, like Codenames, that appeals to anyone, or most people, or Just One, or something where I can get a ton of people involved, super simple. Anyone can jump in that game. I'm not sure how many people are going to want to jump into this game, and because it's just a little bit different. There will be some who grab hold of it and love it and think it's amazing, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many will love this theme. You know, that want to play a light type strategy game, you know. So for me personally, I like the theme and I enjoy the game, but I'm just not sure. I'm not sure where it fits, if it fits in my collection actually. But I'm going to give this thing a 6 out of 10. I enjoyed playing the game. It didn't blow my mind by any stretch, but I'm also unsure how many times I'm going to get this thing to the table. So I think it's a decent game. If you like the theme and you know some folks that you could play this with, I think it's definitely worth checking out. If you're unsure about the theme, yeah, or you want a game that might be a little heavier, then I don't know. I don't know if this one would be for you. So anyways, that's 6 out of 10. If you're enjoying our channel, we would love for you to subscribe. You can also check us out at meepletowngames.com. On that page, you can find links to our podcast, which you can go on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, any of that stuff, and look up Meepletown, and you'll find us there. Also, we're at Meepletown Games on Instagram, Facebook, and what is the other one? Twitter, there we go. And we are Board Game Geek Guild 3407. Thanks for coming down to Meepletown.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Meepletown Games, and connect with us on the Meepletown Guild, Guild number 3407, at BoardGameGeek.com, and also subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. And until next time, thanks for coming down to Meepletown.